Hi, this video will talk about how to use Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse of a triangle. And specifically, it has to be a right triangle. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. Right triangles, there's two on the screen in front of us. How do we know they're right triangles? Because the triangles have the right angle symbol. That little kind of box there tells you that that is a right angle, and that means that it measures 90 degrees. On the lower triangle, again, we look at the triangle, look at the three angles. This here is a 90-degree symbol, so we know that we have a right triangle. The Pythagorean theorem itself, I'm going to write it out in words, and the way that we use it is if we know the measure of one of the legs and we square it, and we add to that the measure of the other leg squared, it has to equal the measure of the hypotenuse squared. All right. So this could be real Greek to you, may not mean a thing if you don't know what the parts of a right triangle are. So let's go back to the triangle here. This triangle, all triangles have three sides. What we want to do is be able to identify the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse, only one of the sides is a hypotenuse and the other two sides are called legs. So I always try to identify the hypotenuse first, and it's super easy to find. What we do is we go to the right angle symbol, and we walk straight out across the triangle from that right angle symbol, and this is our hypotenuse. All right, that means that the 60-foot side is a leg, and the 25, sorry, it's not writing very well, the 25-foot side is also a leg. These are interchangeable in our equation. It doesn't matter if you put the 60 first or the 25 first. It does not matter because of the addition sign. You can add 3 plus 4, and it will be the same thing as 4 plus 3. You can switch them around with addition. A lot of teachers teach this, or textbooks. I cringe, but just so that you're anchored, I've seen this as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I will not use that. I don't approve of it because sometimes they'll put a variable of c on a leg, and that'll just like blow your mind. So you will not see me use this. I'm going to use the words. But if you've learned it this way and you've had success, I guess you could try that again. Just not in favor of it. Let's look at our lower triangle and just see if we can label the hypotenuse and the two legs. So again, we look at the right angle symbol here, walk straight across the triangle until we hit a side, and that is going to be your hypotenuse. All right, and again, I'm just going to abbreviate. That means that this side here with the X is leg, and this side here with the 9 kilometers is also a leg. That you have to know. You have to be able to label the triangle correctly in order to get this right. Otherwise, you're going to be putting numbers in the wrong spots. So let's start some problems. Okay, this is the triangle we were just looking at. Again, the first thing you want to do is identify the hypotenuse. Actually, what I'm going to do at the top for this here is I'm just going to rewrite the Pythagorean theorem. Leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. All right, so we go to the right angle. We walk straight across. This guy here is our hypotenuse. That's really all that I need to do. So what I'm going to do is recopy this equation here in red, but I'm going to put in the numbers and letters that we have. For the first term, we have a leg. I'm going to choose 25. It doesn't matter if you'd use 60. Copying the plus sign, our other leg is 60. And then that has to equal our hypotenuse squared, and our hypotenuse is x. All right, so what we're going to do is grab a calculator. 25 times 25 is 625. Remember that you need to apply exponents before you add the two numbers together. So that's why I'm squaring the 25. 60 squared is going to be 60 times 60, and that is 3,600. The x squared has not changed yet. Now we're allowed to add because we don't have any other operations to do. When we do 3,600 plus 625, we get 4,225. And how do we undo squaring? We undo squaring by square rooting. Sometimes your trigger thought might be like, oh, I should divide by 2, but that's actually incorrect. We want to square root it. And calculators can be a big help on these when we're square rooting them, especially with a number like 4,225. When I type this into the calculator, the square root of 4,225 actually comes out to a nice happy number of x, and the square root of x squared, they're undoing each other, and so what pops out of that is just x. So now we know on the triangle that this hypotenuse measures 65 feet. All right, that can be really useful if you're doing something that has to do with architecture or maybe landscaping. You're creating a blueprint for something. Right triangles actually occur a lot. If you think about when your walls meet your ceilings or your walls meet your floor, they're creating 90-degree angles. You might have triangular fixtures that you need to figure out the lengths of certain things to keep it a right angle. All right, let's try another one. This problem will we'll do the top one first. Again, if I go to the triangle, I see my 90-degree. That's my right angle. So to find the hypotenuse, I walk straight out. So I have x is my hypotenuse. That means that 12 is a leg and 9 is a leg. So again, it's leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So I'm going to use 9 as my first leg. So 9 squared plus my other leg is 12. I'm going to need to square that in a minute, and that will equal x squared because our hypotenuse is x. 9 squared means 9 times 9. 12 squared is 12 times 12. And if you're not familiar with your perfect squares, which is what these are here, use a calculator because your brain is sneaky. You get confident in math and you stop taking your time, and you see the 9 and the 2 and you think 18. Or you see the 12 and the 2 when it means 12 squared, but you're thinking 24. So take your time on these. It's easy to get them wrong. We've squared them, so now we just need to add 81 plus 144. That is going to give us 225. And again, this might be kind of new or something you haven't done in a while. Again, you need to find that square root button on a calculator and square root 225. That will come out to be 15. So now we know that the hypotenuse of this triangle is 15, and the units are feet. Okay, if you're feeling pretty confident, maybe hit pause and then do the lower problem on your own and then see if you get the correct answer, and then hit play to make sure it's correct. Otherwise, the situation, the strategy is still the same. We need to find the hypotenuse. Here's our right angle measure. There we go across. So we know that x once again is our hypotenuse. That means that 36 is a leg and 27 is a leg. And I can't write very well. Leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse. So 27 squared plus 36 squared. These numbers are a little bit bigger, but there's no shame in using a calculator. So 27 times 27, that's 729. And then 36 times 36, that's going to give us 1,296. And then we add to that the 729. When we add these two together, we get 2,025. And how do we undo the squaring? We square root. So when I square root that, I get that x equals 45. And again, our units here are meters. All right, I hope you got that right. Thanks, and I hope this helped. Coming up next, we do have a video that will show you how to use the Pythagorean theorem when you're finding a leg instead of finding the hypotenuse.